Namo Phat. Thanks so much for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This wonderful sound calls us back to our true home. The third mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I vow to cultivate responsibility and learn ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society. I'm determined not to engage in sexual relations without love and a long-term commitment. To preserve the happiness of myself and others, I'm determined to respect my commitments and the commitments of others. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. We're reading Everything We Do Matters by the Venerable Wuling for our Dharma lessons, and we're continuing in Chapter 3, Vengeance, with the story of Digavu, and it does include a mention of, at the beginning of Digavu's parents, the king and queen's execution. None of the villagers knew who Digavu was or what the king was talking about. Heeding his father's warning, Digavu managed to restrain himself. He watched his parents being executed. That night he bought wine and gave it to the guards, who soon became drunk. He then made a pyre, gathered his parents' remains, placed them on the pyre, and set fire to it. After paying his final respects to his parents, he went into the forest to mourn their death. A while later, after coming out of hiding, Digavu managed to obtain a job as an apprentice at an elephant stable next to the palace. One day, when King Brahmadatta heard Digavu singing and playing the lute, he was moved by the sound and arranged for Digavu to work in the palace. Serving the king and always acting to please him, Digavu gradually won the king's trust. One day, when King Brahmadatta was out hunting, Digavu, who was driving the king's chariot, deliberately drove the chariot away from the rest of the hunting party. Not long after, the king said he wished to take a nap and soon went to sleep, using Digavu's lap for a pillow. Digavu's moment of revenge had come. He took out his sword, but suddenly his father's words came back to him, and he put the sword away. A second time he drew and then sheathed his sword. After Digavu drew his sword for the third time, his father's words, simple and gentle, hit home. They touched Digavu's heart that was full of hatred and consumed by a desire for revenge. His heart knew the truth of his father's words and understood their import. Heeding his father's words, Digavu awakened at last to the compassion and wisdom extant in that same heart. He was able to put not only his sword down, but his hatred and his desire for vengeance as well. Suddenly the king awoke in great alarm. He told Digavu that he dreamed that Prince Digavu was about to kill him. Instinctively, Digavu drew his sword yet again and announced that he was Prince Digavu. The king immediately begged Digavu not to kill him. With his compassion and wisdom overcoming his hatred and desire for vengeance, Digavu was able to put away his sword. Then in turn, he begged for the king's forgiveness. The king and the prince spared each other's life, and each vowed never to harm the other. They then returned to the castle. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. Namo Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.